11 o'clock on this March 9th, 2023, and we are in the tournament time as well. Of course, my name is Shawn Stewart, alongside my co-host, Mr. Anthony Paulus. So right now, we are not streaming on Facebook for 30 days because somehow Facebook saw my post that happened a month ago, which they suspended me for the first time, that which was 9 days, and the second time is 30 days. So that'll be 2 days after the MLB opener, season opener.
Man, let me tell you, those Facebook community standards, let me tell you. Sean, they got you for double jeopardy here, man. Not even, the legal system in this country can't even do double jeopardy.
For real.
I mean, dude, let me say this about Facebook and community standards, okay? That technically the people who judge this on community standards, it's not even Facebook, okay? They are hired third-party woke parties who do this, because in that way Facebook legally can't say that they did it. They hire third parties to do this, okay? And they're like woke.
Super
right? Woke. So that's what happens. I mean, I've gotten Facebook jail for posting just a plain picture of Al Capone. I'm not joking.
That's woke that's super woke for you.
I mean, dude, eventually, man, talk about free speech restriction, man.
It don't sound free to me.
Just because you wrote fill it or kill it for a Super Bowl, they got you because of the word kill, but you weren't meeting it in that aspect. But anyways, good old Facebook community standards strike again.
Exactly. Let's talk about the...
So weak.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Big Ten tournament. Michigan, of course, not surprised they lost.
I would rather not talk about the Big Ten tournament, but because today Michigan more or less solidified their NIT bid today, just as Wisconsin did last night. I mean, neither team's going to the dance, okay? Rutgers might have solidified their dance bid, though, with that win over Michigan. Even with the loss at Minnesota, they probably solidified their bid. And with that second half blowout, okay, I mean, if they play Purdue kind of tough tomorrow somehow, I mean, they got one win over Purdue already, right?
Right.
If they play Purdue tough tomorrow, or if they beat them, then they're surely in. But there's probably a pretty damn good chance at this point that Rutgers is in. Penn State is in. Okay? So the Big Ten shot itself with two bids, I think. And I'm going to just say this about Michigan. Okay?
Sure thing.
The in-game coaching is crap.
It's bad. My God.
Like, dude, the second half adjustments are horrible. Like, you come out and then there's no second half adjustments, no nothing. And this isn't like the only game it's been seen.
They've been doing it multiple times.
All season. Okay? Like, Michigan has these leads and then they just disappear because somebody doesn't know how to make in-game adjustments and piss poor rotations. And what the hell is Will Cheddar doing out there? That dude is unathletic. I know you're going only 8 deep on the bench, but damn, Terrence Williams is better than him. Dude has no business on the floor. He ain't ready. That dude isn't even worthy of starting in the MAC. And you're putting him out there even ahead of Terrace Reed?
Unbelievable.
Come on. For real.
But there is a couple of games that are just starting right now. So as of right now, Dayton beating San Jose 53-47 in the second half. Well, I know Kansas and UCLA, they won their game.
Bill Self with some heart issues. They had to put a couple stints in him, I guess.
Oh, UNC and Virginia, they're getting started. They just got started. Same thing with Oklahoma State and Texas. So there's a couple of games that are 7 o'clock is starting.
That might be the biggest winner of the day is Oklahoma State. If they can get a win today with Michigan and Wisconsin losing, they might get themselves into the tournament if they can get a win over Texas.
And then Villanova and Creighton, that's a 9:30 game. Big East.
There's another interesting game. Villanova, Creighton's playing for NCAA seed position. Nova, I mean, right now, today, North Carolina and Oklahoma State and Arizona State, and whoever wins that North Carolina State Clemson game are basically the games left on the bubble. Okay?
Got it.
So if North Carolina can pull off a win today, I think they're in. Okay? The winner of North Carolina State Clemson is probably in. The loser probably not. Arizona State can get a win today. They're probably in. Same with Oklahoma State. That's probably where we're at this point.
Trying to see if Arizona
and
State...
Boise State, if they can do something, they've got a chance also.
And Boise State don't play till 9 o'clock.
So those are the teams that have something still to play for as far as not having their bubble burst. Exactly. So far. Michigan and Wisconsin, they got their bubbles burst today and yesterday. Now the question is, who does Michigan get to play in the NIT? Who does Wisconsin play in the NIT? I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say this. I want Michigan and Bradley to play each other in the first round of the NIT. And for Michigan to have to go on the road and play at Bradley. That's what I want. I don't even think Michigan's worthy of a home game in the NIT.
With the way they're performing this season, I don't.
It's just like me going to go ahead and say that Detroit Mercy doesn't deserve that CBI bid at 14 and 19, and they shouldn't accept it. So that's where we are, and I think we've kind of covered the bubbles bursting. On another hand, Jim Boeheim out at Syracuse after 47 years.
Right, a long time. Although he won one national title, he could have won more.
Yep, he had chances at others, especially in the late 80s, early 90s. That's when I think the Syracuse honestly had its best teams. I mean, that Syracuse 2003 team was like a 5 or a 6 seed. It was just a Carmelo Anthony show. It was an outlier. I mean, if you would have put that team up against the 87 team that Syracuse had, the 87 team would have ran that Carmelo Anthony team out the gym. Ronnie Cycli, Coleman, Sherman Douglas, Pearl, man. I still don't know how that team lost to Indiana in the finals. I still don't know how. That team was loaded.
So, and then the only thing we have to worry about is which team is going to be a number one seed, a number one, and a number two.
You know what? I'm going to say, I don't know if the seeding really matters as much because you know what? There's no clear cut favorite to win the national title this year. And I mean, if I was going to pick a team, I'd pick Kansas just because of the experience.
Right.
Okay. But I mean, is there a favorite? No. I mean,
It's very tough.
I'll be honest with you. Any of probably one of like 12 or 13 teams could end up winning it. Seriously. Like, you know,
And we also got to see.
I mean, it's a crapshoot this year. Honestly,
And
it's a crapshoot.
And I really want to see like which number one team is playing this team and what the bracket looks like.
I mean, the bracket's going to be key, I think, just in terms of matchups of who plays who. Or potentially in terms of who you're going to try to pick them, you know, in your tournament brackets. The one thing I do know is I'm not picking a single damn Big Ten team to make it past the Sweet 16.
I was going to say that. That's the highest I can
I'm
see.
sorry.
Not
I'm
even
sorry. The Big Ten is weak, folks. It's probably the weakest it's ever been.
For how
it is not a good. I don't know how this conference is going to get 8 bids. My only explanation is it's a down year in a lot of other major conferences, or a down year on the non-power fives, which is letting the Big Ten get those additional teams.
Right.
But those records, let me just say this, those records are inflated. What I mean by that is if you're 19 and 13 in the Big Ten this year, it really means in most years, if you were playing a normal year, your team would probably be a 500 team. It's just not good. Dude, Michigan State might be a 5 or a 6 seed in the tournament, and I don't think they're that good of a team.
They'll probably be in a second
round. I personally think the college basketball overall this year, this is probably the weakest field in terms of tournament talent I've ever seen. Like, I hate to say it, this will be the most.
It's weird.
College right now is the least talented I've ever seen it.
And I wonder what the TV ratings is going to look like.
Well, the ratings will be fine. I just think the talent that's on the floors, I just don't think. I think it's a very down year for college basketball. Like if you took last year's talent against last year's talent would destroy this year's talent. I just don't think.
See where you're coming from for that.
And I don't know if it's because of early entries in the draft or what, or development, but the game just seems down. And I don't know if that's a transcending thing coming down from the style of play on downward. I don't know. I really do not know. But, maybe we're at an impasse as far as basketball and basketball development. I don't know. Maybe it's finally transcended down in the softness and the divaism, and the style of play is now finally, reciprocated itself from the NBA downward. And it's affecting the college level. I mean, you can't really affect the high school level much. Well, maybe you can. These kids in AAU see how the NBA, I don't know. I just don't think American basketball is as strong as it was even 5 years ago. So I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe at some point the United States might just not be the kings of basketball. Europe's catching up, folks.
That's why they show it on NBA TV.
10 years, the NBA may not be the best league in the world. I don't know. Or,
It'd be nice if there's a different league other than the NBA.
But anyways, interesting things. Time will tell. Now,
that was a great 15 minutes.
It is what it is. Speaking of a great 15 minutes, it could be a great 15 seconds on Saturday when the Power Slap final happens, airing live on Rumble.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap or oh, slap?
Oh, slap.
Because you know what? I like the Power Slap. These dudes may not get paid all much, but who doesn't like watching dudes slap the snot out of each other? Like they're owed money, rain, sleet, or snow, go get my money, ho, kind of things. Like they stole something from my mama's cookie jar. So I need to go and slap them. You know what I'm saying? Like straight slapping fools. Give me my money. Slap. The only thing is they don't allow backhanded slaps. Because that could be its own division of its own. I mean, could you imagine if so they have Power Slap, right? Now imagine if they had Pimp Slap. Right? Like backhanded slap. Like you got to be dressed up as a pimp, and you can slap forehand or backhand. Okay. I mean, and it's not just it's not just based on the power, but the way the sound of the slap is, how clean it is. And what I mean by cleanness is, like, did the slap even happen? Like, you can slap somebody, but you can make it like it didn't even happen. And make it have its full pimp on effect. I mean, I think the UFC's got to consider this. Dana White needs a pimp slapping competition to go with Power Slap. I'm sure I'll be watching Power Slap on Saturday. Maybe I'll learn a thing or two.
Right.
I'll
be multi-viewing Saturday.
So while that's also happening on Saturday, we have a good boxing fight Saturday on Showtime as Tim Tszyu and Tony Harrison go at it on Showtime. The winner of that fight probably gets Charlo. So that should be interesting to see what happens. So it looks like a boxing / power slap kind of a Saturday night for me. Most likely.
Awesome.
So
now, is this a PBC fight?
Yeah, it's a PBC fight. Yep. Okay. It's on Showtime.
Right.
It's on Showtime.
Showtime does have the PBC.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. So let's talk football. We already know about Lamar Jackson. Okay. We got free agency coming in about a week. And we'll get more into free agency on Tuesday. Breaking it all down and everything, But, there's been moves made. Zadarius Smith wants to be released by the Vikings after a 10-sack season. You know, some people trying to come up with, there's collusion against Lamar Jackson. There ain't collusion. Teams don't want to give up 2 first-round picks and pay $50 million and get their salary cap snapped in half. Because the Browns are cap-strapped. The Packers are cap-strapped when they gave Aaron Rodgers $50 million. Okay? The Broncos are paying Russ fat money. Look how they turned out. I mean, let's talk about Lamar Jackson. A fantastic athlete. He's 1-3 in the playoffs with just 900 yards passed in the playoffs. And that playoff win was eons ago. Okay? He's missed 30% of his games the last 2 seasons. He hasn't hit 3,000 yards in any season except for one. Okay? He turns the ball over in some form at least one time a game on average in some format. Okay? He's not a very good passer. The man,
I knew that for sure.
Let me say this. During last offseason, he could have signed a deal that was better than Russell Wilson's. And he turned it down. Let me say this also. That Deshaun Watson deal with the Browns, that's an outlier, okay? That's an outlier. Who the hell wants to come to Cleveland?
Nobody
and play
in general.
And come by the mistake by the lake? That was just the Browns saying, hey, let's just ensure you come to the mistake by the lake and we'll just guarantee it and we'll give up these 3 firsts just to get it done. I'm sorry, but Baltimore is doing the right thing here. Hey, if you trade them, maybe you get 2 firsts, maybe more.
Right.
You let somebody else negotiate the contract for you, and if it's better than what you offered, then boom.
So be it.
The man was offered $49 million. You know what? You didn't take it. You gambled on yourself. You don't have an agent. Boom. Now you might be stuck for $32 million, which means basically you lost $17 million this year. Mm-hmm. If you decide to play that 1 year, then if you get hurt again or worse, man, then you're looking like a straight up idiot. Because that Ravens offer, I guess, for 49 per, from what I understand, about 70% of that money was guaranteed. So you turned it down. That's kind of, it's kind of Latrell Sprewell-esque. This is reminding me of Latrell Sprewell a little bit. It isn't like 21 million, I got to feed my kids. It's funny that I'm from Milwaukee, and I've actually seen Latrell Sprewell on the streets a couple times since he retired. That's kind of funny to me. Dude had mad kids, and he had a yacht which got repossessed and other stuff. Bro, you did it to yourself. And Lamar Jackson, he could have handled this a long time ago, but he chose not to. Lamar thought he was going to break the bank. Well, dude, you didn't tough it out at the end of the season, bro. If you had toughed it out, maybe the Ravens would be looking at you in a little bit of a different light. I don't know
but
how
they did
severe
bounce
that
back.
injury was at the end of the season. But obviously, y'all are not agreeing on things. You were offered a $49 million a year deal. You bet on yourself and you lost.
You turned it down.
You could be this year's Le'Veon Bell. You could be this
Well,
season's
and look
Le'Veon
where
Bell. And what did it get Le'Veon Bell? He sat out. Then he signed with the Jets for a
the
worse
entire
deal than what he got
season.
offered by the Steelers. Not to mention that the taxes in New York are way worse than Pennsylvania. So you got screwed even more. And then you didn't even live to see the full length of the contract because you sat out so much and you went to a crappier team. Your running game wasn't appreciated, and the rest of your career is basically shot to stone. And you lost a season of your prime. So you probably lost $12 to $15 million by not re-signing with the Steelers, plus the additional $12 million difference between the Jets and the Steelers. So you pretty much cost yourself like $24 million. That, my friends, is dumb. Now, I'm not saying that it won't affect Lamar in the same way. Quarterbacks are a little different with running backs and father time and that kind of stuff. But it is what it is.
All that other stuff.
It is what it is. And Lamar is going to get his somewhere. I don't know. And some of these teams saying, oh, we're not going to sign Lamar, that's great. They're a week away from free agency. Let's see what happens once free agency starts and who shows up to whose house and to sign a deal.
And there's
Oh,
another one
shit.
that's a free agent. There's another person that's a free agent, Orlando Brown Jr., the offensive tackle for the Chiefs.
The offensive tackle, he'll get good money out in free agency. He'll probably get 17 to 20 million a year for a couple years. He'll get his money. This is not a really strong free agency class. It just isn't.
Right.
Especially at wide receiver, this class is not really all that strong. It's just not. I mean, the best player in free agency might be Levante David from Tampa. The problem is he's like 33 years old. But he's playing his best football. So he might get like a short 2 or 3 year deal from somebody. I mean, he might get like a 1 year, $20 million deal from a contender if they really need that linebacker help. But overall, this free agency, it's not all that strong. It's just not. And the Bears got all of this cap money, and they're going to end up overspending on mediocre players. I have no faith in the Bears. Just like I have no faith that they're going to do the right thing with whatever they're going to end up doing with this pick. Like, I'll be honest, they're going to mess this up somehow. They're going to mess it up. My theory is they tried to trade Justin Fields. The market on Justin Fields is low. Okay? Right? So, then they're like, well, then we got to trade this pick. So, at this point, you're trying to trade this pick. And, dude, there's all these veteran quarterbacks out there. And then you got Jimmy G, okay? allegedly Matt Stafford might be available. I mean, Les Snead said no after those rumors came out. But, dude, after a back injury like that, and, dude, they're trying to rebuild, and, dude, you should try to get something now.
This is
And they're like, well, we're not going to trade Aaron Donald. Dude, your team's rebuilding. You have no offensive line. Now, unless you're going to make some cuts, you know, you have no first-round pick. I don't even know if they even have a second-round pick. They're cap-strapped.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what are the Rams going to do?
They're not going to do that much.
Honestly, what are they going to do? It's not like they're going to do much in free agency. They don't have much for the draft. They're trying to get rid of Allen Robinson. They're willing to eat some of his salary in a trade for a guy who only had 339 yards in 10 games.
Looking at it right
I mean, somebody might give him a 7th-round pick for that if the Rams take like 60% of that deal.
All right.
Go ahead, Sean.
All right.
What do you got for it?
So they have one second rounder, 1 third rounder. They have 4 6 rounders, and then 2 7-round picks.
Oh, they must have got those picks for the Von Miller trade. Okay. Or some kind of trade they made. Okay. All right.
Because it says it like 6 was from Atlanta and from Tennessee, and then that projected conspiracy pick, and then that 7th because there's 2 7-round picks. So the first 2 is Atlanta and Tennessee, 189 and 191.
Well, the Rams are in a little bit of a rebuild. You got Cobb, a weak offensive line. That's like the biggest priority for the Rams. They got to fix that offensive line. Can't throw Matt Stafford back there again with that offensive line and not expect him to get hurt. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. Not going to happen. So, I don't know. Maybe this is a last run. I have no clue, Sean.
Work, you understand.
I have absolutely no clue. Now, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. It looks like the Jets are going to make this deal at some point with the Packers. Okay? You know, it's funny, like all these media outlets, you know, early on, all these Packer fans were like, oh, we're going to get like 2 first-round picks for Aaron. Dude, I could have told you right then and there was no way in hell that was going to happen. When you got a 40-year-old quarterback on a bad year with a $50 million contract with like $34 million of cap. Dude, now, if you're expecting the Jets to take all of that money, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you're going to get maybe like a 3rd and a 5th round pick if you're lucky. Okay? And that's probably being generous. Now, if the Packers decide to eat like half of that deal, they might get a 2nd rounder out of it. Okay? But, dude, people expecting 2 firsts or a team to switch first rounders and a future one after? Oh, hell no. That ain't happening.
No, look easy for that.
That's not happening. This Rodgers deal is going to happen in some form, okay? There's no way at this point that he is coming back. The Jordan Love era is here. Because if they don't start just Jordan Love this year, he's gone. Like, he won't be back, and then the Packers will need to draft another quarterback.
And I figured they don't want to do that.
And they got salary cap hell anyways. And I just don't see the Raiders happening. I just don't.
I had before. I'm like, no, not with that situation.
No, I thought it was, but you know what? It's going to be the Jets. Honestly, I thought the Raiders were the better fit, but you know what? The Jets are gung-ho. They're sick and tired of drafting rookie quarterbacks and it not working out. They want a veteran quarterback.
Zach Wilson disappoint me, man. Especially the locker room
And you know
situation.
what? Let me say this about Zach Wilson, okay? If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, guess what? Who is Zach Wilson's idol in quarterback? Aaron Rodgers. You know what? This might be the best thing for the Jets because Aaron Rodgers can then tutor Zach Wilson to be the quarterback he should have been.
Right. Because they do have some wide receivers, though. People don't pay attention to that.
They got Garrett Wilson, but they cut Braxton Berrios, so they're going to save $5 million that route. But, the Jets can get their offensive line, and Breece Hall can come back from that injury last year. Jets could be onto something. And then, obviously, the pass defense is good. That run defense, I can't, the Jets can do some things. With better quarterback play, another offensive weapon, an improved offensive line in terms of the running game, they might be able to do something.
Right. And they could be contenders of the AFC East, possibly.
They could. But Buffalo is there. But we're going to see how many key pieces Buffalo loses this offseason. Because it looks like Terrence Edwards and Jordan Poyer aren't going to be back. But, that's what happens when you do good. So, I don't expect either of those guys to be back in Buffalo. How much it affects them, I don't know. The one thing I do know with Buffalo is that running game has to improve. They got to be able to run the ball somehow. The running game is just not good. I can't blame that completely on the running backs. I think that offensive line is not that good of a run blocking team.
Because most of the time, they always pass.
They are not a good run blocking offense. But they can throw the ball. And Josh Allen's a damn good quarterback. And you got Diggs. Their passing game's very good. And their defense is good. Not great, but good. Their front seven's good. Secondary got banged up last year. Kind of showed in the playoffs. Because that team wasn't the same team. That same team in the beginning of the year defensively wasn't the same team at the end of the year due to the massive amount of injuries. We'll see. Time will tell. That's for sure.
Right.
You know, things are just really interesting right now. We're kind of in that 1 week away from free agency. We're after the scouting combine. You know, there's rumors. Teams are getting their possible final cuts set. They're trying to talk some players into restructured contracts or cuts. I mean, teams are prioritizing what they're going to do at midnight when free agency starts. Team's biggest needs, who's going to address. I mean, this free agency just isn't that strong. It just isn't.
It's kind of quiet.
There's the top of the crop just isn't there this year. Especially at wide receiver, it's weak. The other thing is, what's going to happen once we get, the league year starts? I expect some trades of players more than anything. Like Hopkins from the Cardinals to get traded when the new league year starts. I expect him to get traded. I expect Michael Thomas. I expect Michael Thomas to be a post June 1 cut from the Saints. Will the Rams make some kind of trades? I mean, who are the Bears going to overspend on that's going to become a bust? That's kind of what I'm looking forward. Because the Bears got all this money and they're going to spend. You know what it's going to remind me of? It's going to kind of remind me of Jacksonville. They spent a lot on some guys. You know what? The guys they probably really didn't need to spend money on. But they did. That money could have gone to a much better caliber one player, could have made an impact. But they spread it out to like 3 guys who really didn't do much. Or 4. Let me say this about Jacksonville. They don't get a lot of shine, but damn, that offense is beginning to look something. If they can get that offensive line up a little bit and get that defense a little more fixed, and Jacksonville still has some cap space. They got Calvin Ridley. They got, they're beginning to give Trevor Lawrence some love. Well, I'm going to give Trevor Lawrence some props for them being down and them coming back the way they did and stuff.
And for making it to the playoffs. Nobody ever thought Jacksonville would make it to the playoffs.
Well, I'll tell you this. It shows you how bad of a coach Urban Meyer is. This isn't college where you can recruit top 10 classes and mask a lot of your flaws because the never-ending talent comes in where you're above everybody else. And then you can coach through intimidation and fear. It's not how it works in the National Football League. A lot more parity. Dude, I could have told you that was going to be a failure even before it was.
Oh, everybody knew. Even my other coach, we said that was like Jacksonville's going to be dead last in that AFC South.
I mean, everybody but the cons who own the Jaguars must have seen it. It was a bad hire. Just a bad hire. Like the second they brought in Tim Tebow to try to make the team, and then you were just trying to sell some Jaguar Tebow jerseys. Don't lie.
Hey, PR move. Nothing wrong with that.
I don't know. That was more like a that was more detrimental than anything else.
But at least it wasn't worse than Emmitt Smith got signed by the Cardinals. That was a PR move.
The card it was, but Emmett still kind of did his thing a little bit. Emmett was near the end of his career. He already had the rushing record. He still wanted to play. The Cardinals needed something. That move was kind of done a little bit to say, hey, we're a decent franchise. Come play for us. If Emmett's here, maybe somebody else will want to come. I think that's more why that move was done. It was like, hey, I can't fault Arizona for that move.
You probably couldn't even name any players back in the day when Aaron was playing for Arizona.
So, what do we have look forward to this week? Well,
great question.
This is what we got to look forward to, football-wise. Okay? Teams are going to start to get ready. Then they got that period where the agents can start talking to the players before the deals become official. Then on the 15th, they become official, even though they're somewhat worked out beforehand. Right?
Right.
And then, and then we'll probably see some trades somewhere in there too. And then we're also going to see about the Bears. Ryan Poles, okay, and I read something that said, hey, we're going to try to get this done before free agency starts. Now, I have a friend who's a Bears fan who said, well, he's going to wait till after and we're going to get a good boatload. And, you got the media keep hyping up this whole, teams are just bound to throw these draft picks from heaven at them. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I know that the 49ers gave up 3 first-round picks to move from 12 to 3. But, dude, they moved from 12 to 3. Okay? Now, the Bears probably want to stay inside the top 4 so they can get Anderson or Wilson because they need a premium defensive lineman of some sort. They only had 20 sacks last year. And they blitzed a lot and still only got 20. So they need some type of relevant D lineman. And let me tell you, as far as DNs go after Anderson and Wilson, it's a long ways away till the next DN's going to go. And as for D tackles, who knows with Jalen Carter? He was probably in the mix for the Bears to go in that range till these misdemeanors. So if you want Anderson or Wilson, you're probably going to have to be in the top 4. Oh, Houston will trade with us, and then they'll take Bryce Young, and then we'll trade the second pick to the Colts. I mean, this isn't fantasy football, man. No offense, this isn't Kevin Costner in the movie Draft Day. Okay, I want all my picks back in David Putney. Okay? It ain't happening. You are not the GM. You're not going to get to bang Jennifer Garner and knock her up.
Right.
Okay? Your daddy wasn't the head coach and GM of the team. Okay? This is the Bears. They're going to find a way to mess this up. We're talking about the team that traded a first-round pick for a one-spot move for Mitch Trubisky and got coked like some suckers when Joey Bosa was available, sitting there in their lap. Okay? They could have waited until 3 and took them. And they got gaffled by the 49ers. Then they got gaffled by the Giants to take Justin Fields, who can't throw all that well. He's almost like Lamar Jackson. Great athlete, just can't throw.
Whoa, to save his own life.
This isn't Ohio State against Indiana on Saturday. 5-star receivers against 2-star DBs. Not the case.
The NFL.
A lot more parity. Okay? A lot more parity. So, here's the thing. The Bears are going to figure out a way to mess this up. It's the Bears. And until they prove otherwise, you know what? They've done wrong. The only time that the Bears in the last 40 years drafted relatively well was the late 70s up until like 84, when they had Jim Fink running the show for them. Okay, that was Walter Payton and they Hampton and McMichael and Richard Man, dude, that's because they had an advantage with the GM. And they had Ditka. Exactly. They had an advantage. They were ahead of the times in terms of talent evaluation. Since those days. I hate to tell you this. Those ain't those days anymore.
Because they still live in the past.
And I hate to tell you, dude, I understand what Ryan Poles is trying to do and freeing up all this money for the salary cap. I understand it because y'all sucked. And we're going to suck. And you're still going to suck. Okay? Still going to suck. You can have all that money. Y'all traded the first pick of the second round for Claypool. Shows how much of a genius you got there. I got no offense. I have no faith in the Bears that they're going to do right on this.
They hardly ever improve on offense. They're more defense.
I mean, I don't think, you know what, they can maybe make a trade with Indy and get one additional first and maybe like a second or a third out of it. And then they can hope that a defensive guy is going to go to them, or that Arizona trades back and there's a quarterback bonanza. Will Levis or Anthony Richardson quarterback bonanza happen at 3 and 4? Let's say the Bears make that trade at 1 and go to 4, and you know, Young gets picked first. Okay. And Stroud gets picked second. Then you're good. But what happens if Houston decides to take a D lineman, or the Cardinals stay there and take a D lineman, and so does Houston, especially since the 2024 quarterback class is a lot stronger than this one. I mean, the prize is Caleb Williams, who, no offense, dude, no offense, he's tall, he's athletic, he can actually throw.
Right. And you know how it is with USC quarterbacks, though.
Yeah, but dude, you know, this is a little bit different version of Oklahoma, man. No offense, but Lincoln Riley can actually kind of develop quarterbacks. Maybe not Kyler Murray, but he's got a track record. Maybe not for defense, but for offense, he knows how to produce players.
I agree with that one, because we already saw how he is with the defense.
But there's just the quarterback pool is deep next year. Very deep. And
most of the people are not paying attention to that part for next year's, because we're paying attention to this year a lot. Seriously,
I want to know what team's going to man up and draft C.J. Stroud. I'm going to say it. They are going to regret it. They're going to regret it. Like I said, Ohio State quarterbacks haven't done nothing in this league, maybe other than Sid Luckman. You can't call Joe Burrow an Ohio State quarterback for only throwing 39 passes at Ohio State. Dude, if he would have stayed at Ohio State, he'd be flipping burgers right now somewhere. This dude, you would have never seen him on the field because they would have took Justin Fields and then they would have took C.J. Stroud and put him at C.J. Stroud ahead of him, and he would have never seen the field. LSU developed him, not the other way around. LSU developed Joe Burrow, not Ohio State. The best thing he ever did was he left Ohio State. And he got developed. Now, I don't see that kind of quarterback development happening at Ohio State. It didn't happen during the Urban Meyer era, and they're pretty much running the same offense because Ryan Day was kind of running the show offensively during the Haskins era and before that. So you can't tell me otherwise. They're not running the same systems, and you got all of that talent. I'm sorry. I don't see it. I just don't see it happening. Somebody's going to regret drafting C.J. Stroud. And you know what? It just is going to happen. It's just like my evaluation on Brady Quinn. Everybody was hype on Brady Quinn. He got drafted by the Browns. Man, I knew that dude was a bust from the get-go. And I'm a pretty good evaluator of quarterbacks because I told a friend of mine who's a Bears fan.
Same thing.
I told a friend of mine who was a Bears fan because Deshaun Watson was in the same draft as Patrick Mahomes and Mitch Trubisky. And I told him as soon as they made that Mitch Trubisky pick, I'm like, y'all messed up. Y'all should have took Watson or Mahomes. That's what I told him. No, Mitch has got all the talent. Look at him. He's got the highest ceiling. Yeah, Mitch. You surely showed us. Surely showed Bears Nation what's up.
Yes, you did.
Yep. Good job. Okay, on that note, I've done enough bashing for the day. I think we're ready to end the show here. I'm going to go out, get ready for this 8 inches of snow, which will eventually then hit Michigan. I'm going to go into Menards and go buy some bags of salt here.
Yay, Menards!
Yeah!
The best hardware store you can go to.
So everybody has a good weekend, and we'll talk free agency. I'm very hyped for it. And we'll talk pretty much free agency and NCAA tournament on Tuesday. Right. Pretty easy topics Tuesday. NCAA and football. We'll see you on Tuesday.
All right, guys, later.